Yes. So what this means, because we have, I said, over 150,000 who is over under the age of 30 who are born to intercultural families, and then the vast majority are either families that both members that were born abroad or at least one, means that the vast majority of the target audience of Familia are immigrant or families of immigrant background, let's say. And because of this, for Familia, it's very important that we have representatives, that we have people who, decision makers, who understand the needs of intercultural families, who understand the needs of immigrants, and therefore can serve our target audience. Uh, but beyond that, and we will go into this topic in depth soon, participating in politics as a voter, as a candidate, in many forms, has a lot of benefits to society, like to the entire society on many levels. And that's why it is generally an objective of Familia to increase immigrant participation in the elections, and, well, why we are organizing the event today. Well, I hope that people who are in this event know it already, but just a reminder that the municipal elections will be held on 13th of April, and that these elections are very important because from the beginning of 2025, municipalities have now quite expanded powers in different areas of society, different areas that before were held by the state, issues such as employment, integration services, and then also healthcare and education. And also, municipal elections are unique in Finland in the sense that immigrants can vote in them, even if they are not citizens. You can vote in the municipal elections if you lived in Finland over 2 years, or 51 days if you are an EU citizen, which means that you can vote and run as candidate, which is, well, an important part of the meeting today. But how do you get started? What does running involve? What challenges you might face? And yeah, that's what we are here to discuss. So we are really lucky to have three very knowledgeable panelists joining us. First one is Bioma Tamrakar, who is currently a deputy council member in Helsinki for the Swedish People's Party of Finland. And then we have Arvind Ramachandran, who is also a deputy council member in Helsinki for the Left Alliance. And then we have Josefina Sipinen, who is a postdoctoral researcher at Tampere University, and an author of a dissertation that engages precisely on the topic of recruitment of immigrant origins in the Finnish municipal elections. So we wanted to bring, I at least, like, I know some of them. I met some of you before, and I know that you bring very unique perspectives. So I wanted really to have you. I believe that Bioma and Arvind have really meaningful experiences that they had when running or deciding to run and being involved in politics. And Josefina, definitely have, having read your academic dissertation, you have really interesting insights in your research about recruitment of immigrants. So I would like to hear you speaking. So I would like you present yourselves in your own words. I actually stopped sharing the screen now, so it will be everyone can see you. So Josefina, Arvind, and Bioma, if you can just tell us a bit about your background and what sparked your interest in municipal politics. Someone is joining. Wait. Okay, great. Anyone wants to start?
I can start.
Yes, go on.
Okay, it's going to be a long story, so I'll cut it really short. I'm from Nepal originally, moved to Finland because I got married to a Finn. And that's how my journey to Finland actually started. Studied in Helsinki University, did my master's from there. And then after that, I started working as an assistant to my professor in Helsinki University and started teaching in Tampere University and got into corporate world for some time, and then right now I work for an NGO called Look on Integration. So my involvement with politics is my journey actually started with problems that I have had concerning inviting some people to Finland and the mistreatment that I got from Migri, which got me really upset. Then I just started exploring like what would be the right way to kind of do something about it. So that has led me to the parliament, to Eva Biaudet. Just went to complain about how badly that I've been treated by Migri, really straight in the face. They said things which was by no means acceptable for me. So then with that thing, and then when I went to Eva Biaudet, and it was when she gave a call, then the things were handled in a very different way. And that was just, it felt like this is a developed country and one of the most uncorrupt country in the world. But it felt like a banana republic then. So then started thinking that if I had some the energy to do it, so what happens to the people who have just moved in and had no knowledge about anything? So how are they treated? That made me worried, and then we decided to have an organization called Multicultural Finland, which was an integration policy group for SFP. So that's how, and I've been there for maybe 25 years or so, and I've been asked to run for the election several times. I really didn't want to because I didn't have much knowledge about politics in Finland. But since I was asked to just try it out, and I did. And 8 years ago, that was my first election. I was in as a deputy, and a lot of challenges I had to go through when I ran for the first time, because the understanding of politics or being a politician is very different in my country. So naturally, I went to my own people to ask for votes and stuff, and that was a challenge. Then also second term, I decided to run, and again I was a deputy, but votes were of course like increased, and that's how I got into politics. And it's been a learning path. Very thankful for that. But then how it goes, and in terms of my being there and what I have managed to gain or what I've learned, I mean, we can talk about that later. So that's about me shortly.
Thank you, Bioma. That was a very exact 3 minutes. I'm very impressed of you. Yes. Anyone want to continue? Maybe Josefina, can you continue?
Thank you for inviting me here. I'm just actually making notes while Bioma is speaking, because this is exactly what I'm kind of interested in, how people get into political careers, and why I've been studying migrants. I did my PhD, as Ran told you, in how migrants get interested in running, and how parties invite them to run. So kind of this push and pull. But now I'm studying political engagement of children of migrants in Finland at the moment in my ongoing research project. And widely, I mean, voting behavior. Then I'm applying funding for new projects on this topic. So I will be doing research on these phenomena for the upcoming years as well. So it's very nice to be here today to hear you speak. And why migration? I traveled while a university student. I was in Beijing. I spent half a year in Spain, and I don't know. I've been just always curious in how people settle in different places, and how they want to stay somewhere, and how they meet, and how they. I mean, just learning about people with different backgrounds has always been fascinating and interesting, and I guess that's one motivation to study this. I originally studied history, and I was even there kind of interested in the history of migration. Yeah, but I mean, this is very topical, ongoing, important topic, how migrants engage in politics. We need more information about it. I mean, that's the future of Finland, to be ever more multicultural. I don't think that this can be prevented, while one might think that some people really want to prevent it happening. But you know, we need people from different backgrounds, and I even we did this experiment, very interesting experiment, where we asked 1,500 people. It was like a survey where we presented them pictures, and we varied it randomly, and like that, to invite to participate in this political meeting. And we clearly see that these people who are born to migrant families, they were much more interested in participating in these events when the inviter was also of kind of had a minority background. So it is these representatives from different backgrounds. We need you, so that people do participate, and that the whole system kind of maintains its legitimacy, to say it like that. Yeah, it's very important, the topic. I might have exceeded my 3 minutes, but I'm fascinated on this topic. So nice to be here today.
Only in a couple of seconds. You're fine. Yes, Arvin, go on.
Hey everyone, my name is Arvind Ramachandran. I'm, like Ran said, from the Left Alliance, and I've been a deputy councillor for just a few months now, actually. I ran the first time 4 years ago, and Ran has been doing such great work already from last time. I remember, I don't think you were even working in Familia then, but you were encouraging like single-handedly people to participate in Finnish elections in English, and it was great seeing that. Well, my journey in Finland has looked a bit different than many others. I moved here to study and then stayed to work. I've been here around 10 years now. And 4 years ago was the first time, because you have to have been continuously in Finland for 2 years. So I had been moving back and forth between other countries. So my first chance to vote was 4 years ago. And by that time, like I think many of us who have moved from abroad are, I was a bit tired of the conversation that our immigrants don't participate and all of this, like all the parties, irrespective of which side of the political spectrum, were kind of blaming immigrants for not participating, for not being involved. And I was like, okay, this needs to stop. We need to stop talking about like how can we integrate immigrants, how can we teach immigrants. It was very much like this preaching from the top, and trying to like, a lot of discussion was about like, oh, immigrants don't understand and immigrants are not interested. And what I'm interested in my politics is hardcore leftist politics, and my work in politics is to challenge Finnish society, so to actually become inclusive, not just tolerant. So all my campaign themes and discussions, it's focusing more on what we can get Finnish society to do so that Finland is a better place to be part of a minority, and it's not just immigrants to anybody else. So in that sense, I'm not naturally a politician, but party politics is one way I advance these goals. I'm involved in many other ways as well, with the labor union, with different organizations. I run my own open mic for racialized minorities. So party politics is a vehicle for me to achieve goals of a better society, where it doesn't matter where you're from and how long you've been here, how old you are, you should still have a good life. So 4 years ago, we were having the Social Democrats as the prime minister party and other parties, but now we have a much worse government. So I thought hard about running again, and I decided, yeah, if not now, when? So I'm basically here to advance minority interests, but mostly to, rather than talk to immigrants and tell them how to behave, more to talk to Finnish society and tell them to, well, get stuff done so that Finland gets better for everyone.
Great, thank you, Arvin. Then thank you for mentioning. Yeah, like, well, I can just say that If anyone wondering, I've been starting doing these kind of activities, promoting participation of immigrants in elections. I think in 2019, I'm a PhD student on a break in that my area of research was democratic inclusion and equality. So I'm not foreign to the topic, but yeah, so that's where my personal interest came into this, or my personal understanding of the importance of it. But yeah, so that was a really good intro to you and the topic. And then let's go to the hard meat of why are we even talking about municipal elections? Why are they important in general and for immigrant communities? Because we all know government or parliamentary elections with the big celebrity politicians, they are always like catching the eyes, or president elections. Um, some why municipal elections? Why are they interesting and important, and specifically for immigrant communities? Um, Anyone want to start? Yeah, Arvin, you can go on.
Yeah, just a quick correction. We don't just have the municipal elections coming up, we have the regional elections as well. Even though in Helsinki they are only one and the same thing. But for the first time in Finland, we have the local elections, which is the municipal kuntavaalit in Finnish, and the aluevaalit, or for where the social and healthcare stuff is decided. So we have actually two elections coming up, except if you're in Helsinki, and it's the regional elections which take care of the social and healthcare. So things are changing quickly. This is quite new. We only have had one regional election before. So this is the second time we are having it. And in the first time we're having it together. And you don't have to be a citizen to vote in either. So do remember to vote twice if you're in outside Helsinki. But why is it important? Like even today, the Finnish government brought out a rule where they are tightening the permanent residence requirements, that you have to have lived here longer. They're introducing language requirement of permanent residence. So when we talk about immigrants, we talk a lot about national politics, but I am of the opinion it's in the local level that we actually make the decisions, of course, not related to immigration, that's all handled in the national level, but where your kids go to school, do they get education in your mother tongue? Do you get service in all the parts of the city at the same level? How are you even taxed? How much of your money goes to the tax? Do you get enough services? Like everything that affects your daily life in Finland is decided at the local level. And I think that's one of the reasons I would say these are the most important elections, but also unfortunately, like Ran said, the most ignored elections. We have the lowest voting percentage in the local elections, which I hope would change. But also, like, it's important. I really like the local elections because the local politicians are not full-time politicians. So local politics is like luottamustoimi in Finnish, like it's a position of trust. So I go to my job in the morning, and then when there is a council meeting, I go if I have to go. So it's also a way where you don't have just professional politicians, like, going on, but you actually have regular people living regular lives, being able to influence the way the city is run. So I think in that sense, as local democracy, it's very different from the other levels of politics. And in that sense, also, it's very approachable to become a candidate, to run a campaign. And it's also, that's the reason I think, like, it's regular people from the city voted to do make the decisions, and especially the fact that you don't have to be a professional politician to be in a local politics is what at least makes me think that this is the most important.
Bioma and Josefina, feel free to add in a flowing talking kind of a way, which is difficult sometimes in a remote meeting.
Well, I agree with Ramachandran. Arvind, I can call you right, Arvind. So that I don't need to repeat. I think those are very, very important aspects. And I would like to actually give a very critical view on local elections and on our candidacies. So during elections, I think a lot of us, we also have a candidate here, Mosipur. He was for the Greens and he still is. And we are approached by the political parties. I've been approached by different parties. Yes, that's all good. But what we really lack among immigrants. I mean, we need to be in policy level. There's no doubt about it. And it's high time that we become very active and especially get involved with the policies that really matters to us. And when we talk about integration, I believe in two-way integration. Both have to come halfway. It's not just us trying to adjust and things like that. So whatever policies are decided and made for us, we have to have a say in it. So which like in public participation, we call it. So this is the only way to take it forward. But having said that, well, in ideal world, that's the idea. But among immigrants, like all of us, I don't blame anybody, but political awareness is really lacking. This is where we need to work. Tell people like how politics work in Finland. I can't talk for everybody, but I come from South Asia. So being a candidate means, you are being recognized here. But it's quite different, especially in municipal election or any election, because a lot of parties, I'm sorry to say, they like to have different faces. And even one vote is an extra thing. So, I mean, becoming a candidate is not really important as such. And quite often, there are also candidates now, immigrants for perussuomalaiset and whatever party, not really knowing if the party has any agenda concerning immigrants and their integrations and what are they working on, what are their values. We fail to recognize that. And when I became a candidate, it was automatic because I'm not a politician. I never was. I'm more of an activist. So automatically I went to Nepalese to ask for votes. And I have been really, because I've been living here for 30 years, so anytime there's a problem, Nepalese turn to me. So it was easier for me to go and ask for votes from them. It was natural as well. But how they understand is like, if they vote for me, that means I have to give them something in return. So that's the expectations. And I always try to tell them that, it's not me going there to give them something. Rather, take your ideas forward. And maybe for future generations, things might change. So that's the idea. If I'm elected and I go trying to influence or say that, okay, you need to do this and that for my people, and that's not correct in Finland. So this awareness is extremely important. And also, rather than trying to just think that you are somehow recognized if you are a candidate, then you somehow uplift your position in the society. That's not it. This is something we really need to think about. So now it seems like Nepalese will have two candidates, Bangladeshis have two candidates, and Indians have two or three, God knows how many. So what happens in practice is none will get in because the votes will be divided. And then I'm nothing against those like main candidates. Well, they will gain from that, but we have to know whether they are lobbying our agenda or not. Most often they don't. If we need to take our agenda forward, we have to work for it. That's why political education awareness is where we really need to concentrate. And I think I told Ron one day that let's not talk about like we Nepalese or then some Africans or whatever. It's we as immigrants, we need to come together. We need to choose some key people who can make a difference, who understands how politics work in Finland, how policies work in Finland, and try to, make sure that they get in so that they can make a difference. That's where I stand. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be Arvind. It doesn't have to be Mujibur. So I was going to talk to Ran about this, can we have some kind of a group or a movement on this aspect? I'm sorry, I talked too long.
No, it's okay. And well, I can talk about, because you asked me a question, I can talk about this later, but there is a movement in a cooking. Let's keep it as I was personally requested to establish such a movement, so I will maybe reveal the cards a little bit later.
And there
but I would like to.
there might be some funding for that too. Let's try to go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to have Josefina have her comment, and maybe after that I can have something else to say.
Yes.
Well, the original question was why are municipal elections overall important? But I mean, to have power, right? To have a say, and you talked about a lot of like that. What is power? Is power gained by running as a candidate? Not necessarily. It can. You can't be recognized. You can't be seen. It can be one step to gain power in the future, but parties must be changed from inside, right? So you have to be inside to change them. Of course, parties are interested in getting votes, but how to form these allegiances, that when is a group sufficiently large size that it would have united interests, so that parties would see it as an important group, and they need to cater towards the interests of these groups. When does this happen? Well, if we have a movement and so on, then you need to change the party from inside. And I'm not saying that this is easy, right? The power is there are inner circles in the party. When you come as an outsider, how do you get into the core, change ways, change how power is shared within the party? That's the core. I mean, why are parties? Why do they exist to gain and use power? So there are these different strategies. So, as you mentioned, is it a good thing that we have many migrant candidates? It can be, in the sense that clearly being able to build trust towards voters, to mobilize people who don't know about how politics is done in Finland, and what are the parties, what do they stand for. We need people who can explain this. So that's kind of for the common good, in the sense that if you run as a candidate and you go meet people face to face, and this meeting face to face and explaining things is clearly part of campaigning like that. Just explaining the system is kind of much more present, obviously, if one is doing a campaign for people who don't know about politics. So explaining it and building the trust and all these things cannot happen without minority candidates. So parties do need minority candidates, but what do you then get in return? If you succeed in getting a lot of votes, does it then mean that you're heard? You get to have a say on the party's agenda? That's a different question, and an interesting question as well.
Yeah. Yeah, go on. Yeah, be on mic.
Just wanted to make a quick comment on whether you are being heard within the party. For me, I think I've been involved with the party for so long. I am being heard, but then it's a very, very tall order. I've had motions in the party, which is in party congress approved. And when you get this agenda forward to wherever it's needed, wherever it should be heard, that is a very, very, very long process. And to prepare a motion, it takes a lot of energy and a lot of research. And then actually that being heard and that being processed is a long path. Maybe I'm being a bit impatient here, but it feels like I just feel that one person is already a very good step, but we are long way off. My vision is most of the agenda that we immigrants have, it's more in I'm not like downgrading local election, but in parliament level. So my mission or my hope is that we have some tens in the parliament. That would really bring in a difference. And we are such a big community now. And if we really work hard, we can do it. But who is going to bell the cat is a big question here.
Yeah, Arvin, I see that you raised your hand. So yeah, any quick comment on anything we
Yeah,
said?
couple quick comments. I know how frustrating it is, Ran, to try to facilitate these conversations, but I thought there were 2 points that are important. One is that I am not of the opinion that we should have 1 or 2 immigrant candidates onto whom we focus all our votes. Every immigrant has a right to run if they want. Nobody would say that, oh, let's have 2 Finns running for just this party so that they get in. I think it's a very old-fashioned way. With all respect to Bioma, I think that immigrants have also a right to run in any party they want. I've also listened to some quite old-fashioned arguments that, oh, this party is the natural one and that party is the natural one. And I want to warn people against getting into that sort of idea that immigrants will always vote only that party or immigrants shouldn't vote Kokoomus. No, immigrants have every right to run in whichever party they want, vote for any party they want without having to justify. Like, I'm completely in disagreement with Bioma's party. I don't have anything personally against Bioma, but that party has enabled the most racist government in Finnish history. And each one of us, whether we are immigrant or local, is paying every day the price. So I would never want to vote for a party just because there's an immigrant there. So that's the first point. And the second point, to what Josefina said, that immigrants have less awareness. Yes, in general. But I dare any of you to go ask a Finnish person what a lautakunta, a jaosto, a ponsi, a vastaehdotus, a palautusesitys, all of this mean. Just that Finns go and vote every 4 years or vote in every election does not mean that they know more than we do in general about local politics. And all of these things are things that we can learn. But to keep immigrants in this kind of, oh, they don't understand, we should educate them. Again, this idea of coming from above and telling instead of sharing with respect. We bring something to the table, Finns bring something to the table, and in local elections we kind of like share that. But I really also like question this idea that we have to go educate the immigrants in order to make them active. We should just remove the barriers though, so that it's natural for anybody to run. Thank you.
Thank you, Arvin. I see that Josefina has raised her hand. About comments from the crowd, we will take them later, but right now we will continue with the discussion. Josefina, do you have any quick comment? Because after that, I would like to continue with further questions.
Yeah, I guess it then goes to terminology. What is information and what does it mean to have it or lack it? I mean, of course, people but what I mean by not having information doesn't mean that, but not knowing what politics is, but like who are these, what do these people stand for? And we have a lot of candidates. The lists are very long. It is cognitively demanding to choose, to make these decisions with a lot of parties, a lot of candidates within these parties, and information about what do these people stand for, that these people are lacking, and maybe, I mean, and then Finns do too, but then there might be also this, like, I mean, your families, they tell you long before you learn a lot of things from your family members and your relatives, and it might be these heuristics that I just think I know, but then that you at least have kind of, I think I know what these people stand for, but then if you were not born in Finland, then you maybe don't have even this. You don't even think that I know what these people stand for. You know, you lack these heuristics because your family members didn't tell you them. So maybe it's more about like what is this information or a lack of it, but we don't need to go in detail to that.
Yeah. Thank you. As I said, I hope Mojibor or Mojibor, I will take questions in the end or towards the end, not in the end. You might be able to take in the middle. But I want to kind of roll the conversation one step backward and say, like, we talked about, the question was about why municipal elections are important. Of course, national elections are important also for everyone and for immigrants also. But what can you get from municipal election? What policies you can influence as a candidate, and what can be important for immigrant candidate? I hate when people talk, of course, about immigrant candidate. The only thing that immigrant care about is, what Migri does. No. I'm sure that none of you think that the only thing that is important for immigrant is like the immigration offices and integration services. We care, of course, about many things, but I would like to hear more specifically and more in concrete terms. What do you think if a person think, should I run, should I not run? What can they influence? What is the most important at stake right now? Anyone wants to?
I'm basically raising my hand this way. So.
Yeah, Bioma. Arvind started before, so I let Bioma now start.
No, Arvind, you can go ahead if you have started first.
Oh, as an example, like Ron said, in the beginning of this year, the employment and integration responsibility moved to the cities from the center. So if you are a city councillor, and if you make it to that part which deals with those issues, and of course a lot of the local politics, the decisions that are brought to the politicians, whether it is the council, the committees below the council, the subcommittees below the council, and other different organs. So that's also something important to remember. If you're not getting elected as a councillor, especially in a place like Helsinki, where there are so many of these other positions which are also given to those who have run in the elections, it's highly likely that you end up in some place like that. And I can use my own example. I used to be in the Urban Environment Committee as a deputy member. Then I was in the Permits and Environment Subcommittee as a deputy member. So we got a lot of building plans, all of those. So I could influence those in the sense that if there was a proposal to completely chop down a forest, of course, one person can't influence the whole thing, but if we have enough understanding between the parties, we could make a palautusehdotus, one of those words I pulled up in my answer last time, like a movement to send it back for preparation that you don't cut down as many trees. So those small decisions all add up. But of course, as a councillor, you also have a voice in your group, and your group has a voice in the budget discussion. You also have a aloite oikeus, like you can make motions or initiatives which are then taken up for käsittely, like it goes to the bureaucrats who make a response to your initiative, and then they are taken to be handled by the whole council. So there's like so many different ways, and thankfully one person can't change the whole city. It's a democracy, it's a representative democracy. So like Bioma said, it might take a while, but you can participate in also like the decisions that you are most interested in. And I'm an architect, so I was participating in all these urban environment related decisions, and somebody with nursing background maybe is able to do more in the healthcare side. So there's so much you can do, but in small pieces, and it takes a while.
I actually lost track of the real questions. That what is the most important thing that you need to?
The question was concrete things of what can you influence? What is the most important or crucial things that you can influence in the, as Arvind said correctly, in the municipal and county elections at the moment? That why would a person run? What interesting decisions can they affect?
Yes, I think my vision was I was interested in certain areas. Always been equality and non-discrimination was my issue. So that was the committee that I wanted to get in. And before becoming a candidate, again, it's a democracy. Anybody with any ideas can get in, but it's also important to know what city deals with. So most of the immigrants that now are the candidates are talking about like very national level politics, and they want to get into city to be able to influence on that. But city is like dealing with few areas, and then you have to kind of see which area that you are interested in and where you think you can influence or where you want to have a say in it. I think it's good to have that in mind before entering, so that you know exactly, because it's a sea of issues, and I still don't have complete idea about what goes on where. So you just can't, because it's a voluntary work more or less. So I'm in the meeting when I'm in. Otherwise, it's a working group meeting. It's working committees once a month, and there it's mainly giving like information, and then we we make motions out of it. So in that sense, to the immigrants, what I think we need is we need to have a clear idea about how or in what subject that you want to influence. Like Arvind also said that he's an architect, so his area of interest was quite clear for him. That's important.
Josefina, do you have anything to add? As I said, like, it doesn't have to be specifically immigrants, but I believe that immigrants are an integral part of society, and things that are important for everyone are important for immigrants as well. So if you have anything to add about that.
Well, cities and municipalities, of course, they, as has been told, it's very concrete things nearby, close to you, everyday life. So how many schools, where the schools are, how large class sizes, and all these different things. I myself am a parent of small kids. I'm very much interested if the school is near. Now they will switch my child to another side of this municipality. And while I live in a small municipality, and for Helsinki people, this distance is not far, I'm annoyed, and I have just made a complaint and about it, like why aren't we having more kindergartens to the area where I live? I mean, this is an area that's growing more and more houses. Why don't we have a kindergarten here? Or the one that we have is now being used for another purpose. So these things is one concrete example that I have in mind.
It's funny that you are referring to being annoyed, and this is really throwing me, because I recently had this is a promotion of another thing. Familia has our podcast, and our podcast, as part of our podcast, we had an episode about like politics from the perspective of immigrants in Finland, and there was a municipal, like, she's a deputy council member from Espoo called Habiba Ali, and I asked her. Oh, she was asked, like, why did you start in politics? She said, I was just angry about so many things. And I feel that, and I told her that I can relate with this so much, because many times I feel like my interest in trying to influence politics is so many things annoy me and I want to change. And it's funny that I think all three of you mentioned at some point something annoyed you and you want to change, or like there's something about, like, in the reality that annoys you, so you want to that these things will be changed.
If I can have a quick comment on that, that's how general or like regular people get into politics. Then there are people who are politicians for the reason that they hang around in these groups, they kind of think that they can, or they have it as a family, that there is kind of this. But then regular people are usually those who get annoyed and want to have a change, right?
Yeah, Arvin, go on.
Quick comment, like I completely agree with all of you. Like often you hear from people who don't like us immigrants, and I'm sure Bioma has this from many more years of experience, that often people say, oh, if you're so angry, just go back to your home country. Like I would remind immigrants that if you're so angry, get into politics. That's how we change the things.
Yeah, small comment. I think if you want to make changes, we have to get into politics. I'm sorry, I don't mean to disagree with Arvind. I completely respect your point of view on this, but I think we have to get into politics a bit more strategically.
Yeah, and this actually relates me to the next question. Let's assume that whether you are angry or not angry, but you have an idea of something that interests you, something that you want to change about politics, and you decided that you are considering running. So where would you start? Anyone wants to have a go?
Well,
Yeah,
I
having
can
gone.
tell.
No, Bioma now Bioma will start.
Okay, how I started was because we have a lot of motions and whatever within the party, and so they've been asked me for me to run for the local election. I had absolutely no idea how it works. So first, what I did was I had somebody to explain it to me, Then also what I negotiated with the party is I had a rough idea about how much vote I can possibly get. So I kind of negotiated with the party, like, I can bring in this much. So how will I be promoted within the party and also within these working groups, like where I can have access. So I kind of made a deal about that. Well, informal deal. There is no like final deal. Also, what I felt was it's maybe not so good idea just to go naively there just to be a candidate. You can also make the first starting point is your own party, and then go forward with that. That's how I started off. Because an election is because I'm not like I never was a politician, and where to start? I mean, it's very difficult to start, and you need some help and financial help, plus a lot of teaching you need, because you have to know like where you are going, and at least the basics, if not everything. So party is the place where actually you have to make sure that you're heard, and then you go forward with that.
Yeah, Arvind, continue.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm coming at this again from a different direction. Nobody, especially if you're an immigrant, is going to take you seriously if you don't show them that you're driven, motivated. I mean, every immigrant knows you have to do 10 times the work to get 2 times the respect, what you actually deserve, and it's still less than what a local gets. So first step, if you want to be a candidate in the elections, first choose your party well. You don't want to end up in a random party which is in collision with the Persut, and the next time you go and ask for votes, people start asking, what are you doing? So because a lot of immigrants, unfortunately, the parties don't talk to us in the languages we prefer. So a lot of immigrants end up joining the wrong party and then regretting it and then just jumping out of politics. So for me, it was important first to know what the parties are, what they stand for, before I even got in touch with any party. The second, I jumped in the deep end, and I know a lot of others are also doing that. Like, the most motivating way to get into politics is to directly become a candidate, because then you have a very clear structure. You know that you are aiming for something clear. I mean, you don't have to get elected. I did not get elected. I didn't even become a deputy councillor, but I started my party work by being a candidate, which already pushed me to a level within the party where they had to listen to me. So it's also, like, in that sense, strategic within the party level, because 127 candidates for every party in Helsinki if you have a full list. But still, if you are able to stand out already during the campaigning, even after the campaigning, like Bioma said, the party takes you seriously when they give you the committee positions. On the other hand, if you start with your local party, smaller organization, you have a very big risk, especially being an immigrant, of always being left out in the corner. So I would really also recommend people to boldly get in touch, find the party, get in touch with them, and just ask them, hey, do you still have space for me? And most parties still have space for you. So that's another way to try it, like, just to give another option. Just go hardcore, straight into the deep end, and see how you like it. And if you like it, you continue. Otherwise, you come back in 4 years and try again.
Yes, Zafina, do you have a words about
Well,
this?
I don't have any personal experience, right? I'm just a researcher. We know that doing politics you need time, you need motivation, you need all these skills, how to present your arguments in a convincing way, right? You need to be a good speaker. You need to, first you of course need your own ideas, but then you have to be able to play it out loud. So this is of course necessary to get support, right? Then you have to build this support in different ways. There can be different strategies how to do it, and then you can calculate that do I have what it takes, or do I want to use this time and money that I'm now using in consideration of the support I think I can get. So of course it's about like building a business, making kind of a business plan, in the sense that I use this time and energy. Is what I get what I want, and I think it's also important to think these things in the sense that you don't get disappointed and then just stop and kind of have the barrier. Politics it's slow. It's group work. You need people to support, you need it's good if you have your own support group who can help you with many things, even just like brainstorming with ideas that does this sound good, have somebody who believes in you, have this emotional support, even it's good to have like a financial support, that's of course important as well. So motivation, resources, people, you need people.
Yeah, but I would like actually, because there's something that you, Josefina, wrote in your research that really kind of echoes in what Arvin says. Because when Finns are selected to being candidates, they are typically people that the party already know about, and the party usually reaches out to Finns because they are like in their circles. They know that they are that they have some, that they are popular, that they are influencers. Even if you are relatively, let's say, popular within the immigrant community, there's a good chance that the native Finns have no idea who you are. So this really connects to what Arvin says, that an immigrant want to be a politician or want to be a candidate need to work harder to kind of push their candidacy, push their, like, make the party to understand, to invest in them, that they are valuable candidates. I've seen so many times that people run into some position in politics that they are from immigrant background in Finland, and for the Finnish people, they are nobody, and then they are getting elected for something, and they're like, where this guy came from? Apparently, this guy is very popular in his own or her own sorry for saying guy. This person is very popular in their own communities. But yeah, as an immigrant, you need to work a bit, definitely harder to kind of push your candidacy, because no one will serve you this on a silver spoon like for many Finnish people. Yeah, Bioma, you can, yeah.
Well, my experience with parties is not so wide, though I have been approached by some other parties as well. But within the party that I am affiliated with, I'm sorry that Arvind doesn't agree. I wanted to choose a liberal party, and within my party, I mean, they know, they have basic ideas, they have some connections, and they know whom to approach. So they actually have gone, and some are recommended. So they are probably not that naive in that sense. By now, they do have an idea about who is doing what in immigrant communities. So in that sense, they also choose people and approach people.
Yeah, maybe the no one was a bit of an exaggerate, or they know less, definitely, but yeah,
Yes.
they do. There is definitely an increase of awareness also among the parties.
Yeah.
That
And
thank you for, yeah, you're correct.
no, what I was saying is that then you have to make them feel your importance. Like, kind of, I probably didn't use the right words, but you also, how you negotiate with the party is then it's up to you how you influence the party. So you have to work hard on that.
Yeah, Josefina, you were raising your hand first.
Well, I would have to also kind of say that it depends so much where you live, what type of municipality it is, what type of population structure it has. Is it even possible to get votes from other migrants? What if the municipalities doesn't have many other migrants? You couldn't even try to build a strategy on leading votes from these groups if they aren't there. So when I interviewed candidates, migrant candidates from in different places in Finland for my thesis, this was very clear, obviously, and then that led these people towards different strategies. Some, of course, not all even are interested in migrant issues or representing migrants in the. That's because they're doctors. They're just simply interested in improving health services. So that's, of course, influences motivation, but also just one of them, for instance, told me that if he would raise up minority issues, then he wouldn't be taken seriously. So he needs to talk to everyone. He doesn't want to be seen as a migrant, although he cannot avoid it to some extent, but to be taken seriously. He doesn't want to talk a lot about minority issues. So, I mean, these things matter. I mean, or the environment, of course, the kind of the structure of opportunities is so different in different municipalities. It's not one elections, it's elections in 300 municipalities. So that's it makes it different for different people, and also which parties are big in different municipalities. That's also like, I mean, one party is a serious actor in one municipality and in another it isn't. So can you actually ever gain power through the party you like, or do you have to make a compromise and run in a party that is not necessarily close to your thoughts? But then, I mean, did you go into politics to have a say in certain things, or be able to influence, or did it go for more ideological reason that you just want to simply support this movement? That's individual choices.
Yeah, Arvin, just speak. You don't know.
Yeah, I agree with Josephine. I also, like, this is probably also known to every single person listening to this. Like, Finnish society will put you into a box based on your background, and your party will also do the same thing. Like, I am an Indian man, 36-year-old, highly educated, moved here to study, stayed to work, and I'm pretty sure that I have been put into many boxes in politics. So if you're an immigrant, you end up in a municipality where there's not even one other person from your community, let that not stop you from becoming active in politics. Like, the people who voted for me, I definitely do not know 417 Indians. I did not go to just the Indian community to ask for votes. The only time I even spoke to Indians was when Indian women in Finland ran out of other candidates to invite, and there weren't enough women candidates. So I ran a campaign where I was talking to everybody. And that was also something, and it's so interesting, because the issues that affect me affect somebody who could have been born in Savo, white Finnish person, 70 years old, is still also interested in local forests still being preserved. So actually, when you run for politics, you also meet so many people who are not part of your own small circle, and you realize that there's so much that actually kind of overlaps, like Josefina was saying, like the issues. It's amazing. So I really recommend to, like, if you're even like 5% thinking that you want to be an candidate, but you realize that your own community is small, or your networks are small, just give it a shot. Nobody's like, I mean, of course it takes some money and takes some time and all of it, but you can do the campaign also to the level that you are able to, and you will find help as soon as you, because people really, this is something I really realized, as soon as you say that, hey, I want to stand for election, you will find new people who come support you, you will find new friends, you will find the support group, the party will, like I said, start taking you seriously. So I would really recommend people to think about, like, hey, if I have something to offer, is this a thing that would work for me, and then see how you can contribute. And it doesn't have to be a candidate, you can be in a support group, you can be within the party, you can just go distribute flyers, but just activate yourself in politics in ways that might not seem so natural for you, and I'm sure that you'll find yourself.
Yeah, anyone has anything to add about this? Sorry if there's a bit of background noise around me.
Well, it's actually Ran. There's Mojibur here. He has raised his hand. He has been a candidate, and so I'm sure he could contribute something to this as well. Would be nice to hear his point of view as well.
All right, yeah, we can take because, well, this is a more just like, yeah. We can take a Mojibor if you want to say something now. It will be nice.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ran, Josephina, and also Bioma and Arvind for the very nice discussion right from the beginning. So there are certain aspects of your talk what I was following that's very interesting. Like Bioma was talking about active participation, and Arvind was talking about activism. Both are very important for the immigrant candidates as well as immigrants or voters. And Bioma also talked about doing politics strategically. That's very important for me personally as a candidate from the Green Party. This is important because I believe that activities doesn't mean any meaningful results. Activities for the sake of activities doesn't produce much result, with due respect to Arvind. And in Finland, we have consensus politics. So being immigrant, we can also learn how to reach consensus and put the best among us who understand agenda and who can really go forward with the broader picture. So this is important so that people with the right kind of skill set, immigrant voice is important because we are in a very different world nowadays. We have these anti-immigrants, hate speech, and there is not so much fact-based politics in not only in Finland, but also in whole Europe and also recently in Trump America. So this fact checking is missing here. So we need to identify things as they are. From this point of view, I think that this is important, that it's not only we look at the outer things, that everybody, everything is equal. That's very nice. Finnish or Nordic nature, we love it. But at the same time, we have to understand that the outer things, our face reflect something which inner supports our face. But it's not seen. Everybody's inner situation is all the same, but your face reflects yourself or represent yourself to the world. So, but the inner body mechanism support it. I think that we have to understand this, and we immigrants also need this consensus-based politics for the broader interest of the immigrants, because it's not the normal world what we have been witnessing in the last 20, 30 years, but recent 1, 2, 3, 4 years, or after the Putin's invasion of Ukraine, things have gone very bad, and now it's worse. So from this point of view, I think that it is important that we have to do politics strategically, so that our main agenda as immigrants, so that against any immigrant, there can be no hate speech, there can be no exclusion, whatever ideas or whatever ideology they may have. But we all are immigrant to certain extent here. It's our common thread that unite us. I think from this point, I think we can build a broader alliance for the greater purpose of immigrant rights. It not only serves the interest of immigrants, but also the Finnish society at large. Thank you.
Thank you, Moibor. Arvind, yeah, like you can have a short comment, but I really don't. We don't want to too much talk about what as an immigrant you should support or what not. We're more about how to do it. Like it's of course what people should support and what immigrants should support is a very important question. But it's a little bit of a different topic than what we are here for.
Yeah, that's just continuing. Thank you, Mujibur, for your comment. Like, not to say that we shouldn't be strategic, but as soon as you start talking about we should just put the best ones in front, it can start becoming gatekeeping. And I really do not stand for politics where somebody decides before somebody even goes to the candidate list or is able to go there. Like, I feel like somebody who has been here 2 years is as valid. If they want to run, they should be able to run, and that person running is not taking away anything from the big strategy. I also want to encourage immigrants to run as politicians. You don't have to run as an immigrant politician. And if you don't want to spend even 1 second in your politics talking about immigrant issues, that is a right that you have. And I want every immigrant to be able to recognize that right without feeling that they're letting down their community or anything. Like, your background should not have to force you to do certain kind of politics, because we are again building that box ourselves, which what Finnish society is doing for us anyway. So that's something, because we had Sultan Said from our party. He became the first Somali origin MP. One of the first comments he got from his friends was, please don't be an immigrant MP. Because that's so common. in Finland, that an immigrant reaches a certain position and they put them in a box that they should only advocate for immigrants. No, be yourself. And if being yourself, like Bayoma said, includes equality and non-discrimination, naturally do that. But if being yourself, you're a doctor, but also an immigrant, is only healthcare stuff, do that. But do something is what I would say. Like Mojibur said, like the world is not what it used to be even yesterday. Every day we get bad news. So if you're able to do something in politics, just bring your expertise, bring your background, and choose how you want to do it. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I'm kind of if I'm one thing that for sure I can kind of synthesize one word of things that you've been saying, that when you are running as a candidate or considering running as a candidate, you need to do your homework. You need to learn what is is going on in your city, what is the power relations in your city, which parties are in your city, which parties are, what parties are in general. Parties stand for different things. I can say that for my personal experience of learning a little bit, Kokoomus in Turku says sometimes different things than Kokoomus in Helsinki. So you need to learn what they are about. And but let's say if we are talking here about doing your homework, what can you add to a person's homework in terms of what challenges can they encounter? What will they? Of course, we talked already quite a lot about this. This is kind of, you don't need to repeat about things that were already said. But do you have anything that you kind of, even one thing that you want to give a person a heads up, like be prepared for it? And Josefina can start.
Well, I'm interested in how parties from inside support their minority candidates, knowing that that they can and do face more hate speech, for instance, and harassment. So, what type of support mechanisms? For instance, I've been told that that one party member told me that they always go campaigning, two of them, that nobody's never left alone, and that these things are discussed. And then it was very clear that in some parties these weren't discussed at all, but the candidates were very much left alone. So if it is about negotiating with the party, then it would be worth to negotiate. Like, how can you then support me in, or like that? It's about the inner culture, that do people care about each other? How is it? Because the Finnish system is kind of cruel in the sense that your worst competitor is from your own party, right? But it should, of course, it doesn't mean that it needs to show in a harmful way, but people do things together. But I mean, but some also say that they've been left completely alone, and then some have their own individual support groups, but some very much have hoped much more support from the party, but then haven't received it. So maybe that is something that also kind of creates expectations that aren't met, that people have more expectations towards the party, then they fail to get what they needed and wanted, and then they get disappointed and stop altogether. So if this doing your homework thing could also include this realistic aspect, that what the party can offer you, so that it is at least realistic, and what type of support one needs, can one get it elsewhere than from the party.
Yeah, anyone else want to add? Arvind, go on.
Yeah, talking about barriers, I mean, we have to also be realistic that we are in a country with a very difficult local language. And even if you speak the local language, political Finnish is a beast of its own. Like I used to get hundreds of pages of documents to prepare for, especially when I was in the Urban Environment Committee, and I like doing my work well. And often that means that breaking your head apart, because the bureaucratic language is very difficult, and especially if you're not used to these meetings and minutes and all of that, even within the party, the local committees and the national ones and the regional ones, there's a lot of bureaucracy. So that can be something. So it's not a warning, but to be ready for it and find your own way of like which is the most important. Like I would suggest that don't go to every level of decision making within the party, and then you are thrown into something in the local decision making. Then you can really like burn out. I know a lot of colleagues who run in the first election, do really well, but they are not running again. And that really breaks my heart. And that's something also we have to have a broader discussion. If especially since this is not full-time work, and like Bioma also knows very well, we are not paid as much as the work we do. We are paid only for the meetings, but so much of the work is outside of it. So be ready to like allow yourself to be 80% so that you are able to continue instead of trying 100% and crashing.
Bioma, do you have anything to add?
Not exactly at the moment.
But I would just add, and this is kind of also for the next, well, kind of the last thing before we go to question, and then we have in the end we will talk about just have a like summarizing word. But this what you talked about campaigning, it's also relevant for people who themselves don't want to run, but they want to support the campaign. Let's say a lot of candidates right now are looking for campaign manager, even a person that will go around in the streets and give their leaflets. And when you're considering doing this, whether it's for like a, I don't know, a TV celebrity national candidate who is also running the municipal elections, or for a small candidate, what do you need to consider? And this being on the street and how to campaign in couples is a good tip. But do you have any other tip about that? Yeah, Bioma, go on.
Well, it depends on your agenda, actually, how to campaign and where to campaign. Since my agenda was mainly with immigrants, that's where I have been interested. Even though they put me in the box, I don't care. I've been put in the box, and this is where I need to work. I feel like I'm really adamant about it. So no matter what you do, you are in the box. But then again, why not do something for the box was my idea. So the campaigning within that box was to talk to people in person. Or then what I did was try to get the key people of different communities and have them on board and have them work for me. So that's also like you have to have meetings. You can't have them at your home. And party office is quite occupied during the election. So cafes and wherever you meet. So if you invite people, you have to buy things for them. And also which becomes actually very expensive. If there are 10 people coming, 10 coffees will cost you 50 euros. So, and then also there are a lot of other things that's involved, but campaigning was like mouth to mouth and talking to person, going to different places. And I also put a lot of money in social media campaigning. I don't think that has, I don't know, there is no research done. I didn't have an expert on that, but I don't think I gained much votes from that, because I also got so many candidates there, and I don't know whom to choose, because I actually got really annoyed with it. So and then I was also standing in the streets, but it's like a fish market, it's frustrating. It's not, and I personally felt that was not very effective way of campaigning. For me, I've lived here for so long. I've been involved in social work, not a social worker as such, but people know me, and I chose the key people to mobilize, and that has been very effective for me. And for that, you have to have certain respect within the society to gain their trust. So that's how I ran my campaign.
Again, to provide a contrast, I can say that I did not do it like this. I did not reach out to specific communities. I do not believe in identity politics. So what I did was I created a message of not leaving anybody behind. That was my campaign. And we did this campaign where people could join the campaign without having to, like Josefina said, it could be actually, unfortunately, in Finland today, dangerous to stand with a certain parties flyer alone on the street in front of a metro station. So what I did, and with our group, is like as wide a campaign as possible and as easy to join the campaign group as possible. Like you could be anonymous, you could just take 10 flyers from me or just from an agreed place in the center from our party container. Just go to your own building and put it anonymously into those post boxes where it doesn't say no advertisements allowed. So what we did was very this kind of horizontal, not reaching out to any key people or anything, but just trying to reach as many people as possible. And like Bioma said, when you're campaigning, you never know which is the one that will actually trigger something in somebody. Like we were putting flyers in some Paloheina, like areas where the Left Alliance never gets any votes. But then in the results, there were like 5 people, and I don't know anybody in Paloheina personally. So it works. So especially if you want to not be a candidate, but be in the background a little bit, every candidate will definitely find you a way in which you can be part. Like you could do graphic design, you could put those flyers in, you could maybe like do the accounts in the background. You maybe are interested in running an organization, so you can find the work with the support group as a Yhdistys, like a registered organization. I know that every candidate is like, especially in the local elections, there are hundreds of candidates and hundreds of municipalities. So we don't have like a shortage of candidates. We have a shortage of people who can help the candidates. So if you are able to spare any time at all, and anybody, even if it's a friend of friend who's running, do think about like maybe spending even just an hour or two helping them. And I'm sure that each of them, whatever the party, however well you know them, will find a thing for you to do. But it's already a great way to get your first taste of Finnish politics.
Nice. Thank you, Arvind. Do you have anything to add about this, or we will open the floor to questions? Then I would still like you to have your kind of the final word, like about well, tips or main message. But I would like to invite the crowd to have questions. I saw that there were questions in the chat, that some of them were also replied by Arvind, but you are welcome also to reply. And one thing that I will say, I'm putting now on the chat Familia's feedback form about this event. So it's important for our funding that we know if you value this event. So if you have for the audience, if you have after the event, I think you need 2 minutes to fill this form. Time to give a feedback. We would really appreciate that. And also, a person asked me on WhatsApp if Arvind and Bioma and Josefina are willing to put on the chat their contact for specific questions that come afterwards, or consultations. Some people would appreciate that. I know that we have here on the crowd Jamar, who is actually screening this event on their Hoas apartment club room on a big screen for people to watch. So some people have more people than in this event are actually watching us. So yes. Anyone from the audience want to ask a question? Sorry, Lillian, go on.
Hey. Oh, God. I just didn't want to ask a question without a face. Okay, so, hey, first, just a reaction on political parties. So how do they help candidates? What I know is SDP, they put in a little, so really a lot of effort to help us in our campaign. I'm not an ehdokas, I'm a vaalipalikko. And our only problem is at that point that they provide their information only in Finnish. So they provide a lot, but only in Finnish. And it's a very interesting type of gatekeeping, since the candidates who speak to immigrant communities and try to gather votes from them communicate with the voters in English mostly, or Nepali or Spanish or whatever, and they need to communicate with the party in Finnish, and it's kind of mind-blowing in a way. So I would like to ask several things, but I was wondering that how definitive is the candidate's background regarding the voters that will vote for him or her. So if I'm a Nepali, my first thought, as you told us, Bioma, is to go to the Nepali community, and the second is that, wow, something similar and this and that. Arvind's approach is totally different. So how does it work? Do we have any data on that? So anybody voting out of the community, or is there a possibility for a Finn to vote for an international? So how does it work? Because if communities stick to the candidates from their communities, then it's just math. We just look at the the statistics, that how much Indian is there, how much Nepali is there, how much Russian is there, and we get the results. So how does it work? Do we have some good data on that? This is my main question. Thank you.
Maybe Josefina, you have any data-driven answer to this?
I'm very data-driven. That's the only thing I'm analyzing. Well, what we do in election studies is, of course, we rely a lot on survey data, because that's how you collect opinion data on a lot of people and you make some generalizations. Then, of course, there aren't survey data on who migrants vote. It's very expensive to reach out to migrants in several languages, and those who have the funding don't. They're like THL or these, and then I've been trying to lobby them, like, please ask these questions, but it's now like too political, and then like no political opinions allowed, so I need to still apply funding for these surveys to be conducted. But I did collect a survey among children of migrants. It's a panel study, so of course these people who respond to these questions, there might be certain biases. They are the most active and they might be a bit more left-leaning, more liberal. So there are issues in terms of whether it's representative. But for these, among these 1,500 plus respondents, or actually 2,000 was in this first wave, that they, so children of migrants, those who have at least one parent born abroad, it is when we ask that if it's important that for their decision to choose a party, that whether it raises up minority issues, then yes, over half of them say that it was very important or quite important. Only like 15% that say that it was not at all important when they're choosing a party. Then much less so say that it was important that the party had persons with migrant background. So I think this is relatively interesting. And then if people say that they've been unjustly treated, then these of course become much bigger issues, that these then these representations matter much more. Then one data about who is voting for whom is, of course, that the candidates can see in these different areas where you live quite in detail this registered data is there. But of course, there is the problem that, of course, you can't know who exactly voted. But yeah, so you can make some ideas that if there are a lot of migrants living in certain areas in Helsinki, then you can guess, but of course it might not be accurate. Sorry for too many survey details.
Good. Anyone want to add? Yeah, Bioma?
I think Vaalikone was something which was widely used, and I got votes from those, and because I know for sure, because they also sent me an email that I didn't have a candidate, so I got at least 5 or 6 emails, so at least 6 people voted, and they are, I think, Finns. So that's a good way.
Yeah, Arvind?
I think also like the people who assume that immigrants vote for immigrants and Finns vote for Finns have very little to do with how things actually work, because we don't have the data. But I know that I got a lot of votes from very unconventional areas, from neighborhoods that I know that I don't know anybody. Like, who do I know in Ullanlinna? I got votes from there. And Sultan, like my party colleague, also used to joke that he lives in East Helsinki but gets votes from Kallio. And Jussi Halla-aho lives in Eira but gets votes from East Helsinki, from all the people annoyed with the immigrants. So it's actually a lot more complicated. And like we saw in the US as well, the Democrats thought that America will be less white and more blue. That did not happen. And I feel like we have a risk in Finland of the same thing. Like every single vote, even if you belong to the same group, every single vote is still earned. Nobody's giving your vote for free. And I do not want to also like think that voters are not smart enough. They just like, that's a familiar name or familiar face. Everybody knows what they're doing when they go to the booth and write that number. Some might know a bit more, some might know a bit less, some might take it more seriously. But as candidates, I think that we should also be remember that every voter is smart and engaged and informed, and we really need to like deserve every single vote.
Yeah, Josefina, quickly, because we are very like now we are running out of time.
Okay, well, but I mean, even in this survey, it shows that people, when it's asked about that, a list of things that mattered for you to choose a candidate, or a list of things that matter for you to choose a party, then that the fact that shares a minority background is much, at least that's what they say, is much less important than profession, reliability. I believe this person is competent. Where do these beliefs come from? Is it one that you met these people somewhere and got a hold of this person via some route and believe in this person some way? It's not necessarily about this shared background, but shared something is shared, that the people feel familiar and feel that they trust this person, and how to build this.
Eva, do you have a quick comment or question?
Hi. No, I just wanted to say that I'm also a candidate as part of Helsinki Left, which is an immigrant-led chapter of Left Alliance, and I'm not an immigrant personally, so I just wanted to comment on that there are several kinds of candidates, and you don't necessarily need to be an immigrant and also represent an immigrant-led chapter. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Eva. It's a good comment. And because we need to finish, I would just anyway, if you have
I really need to go. I have a meeting to attend.
Yeah, that's why I want to finish the meeting. Bioma, do you have any last word that you want to say before you leave?
Thank you very much for this. This is a very good start, I hope, and I got to learn a lot and different perspective. It's really educating. And I hope that we in the future, not just around the election, there are other times also we could have such sessions. I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Arvind and Josefina and all the rest. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gotta go. Sorry.
Yes. Arvind and Josefina, do you want to say one last message about one if you want people to come out with this from this session with something?
Yeah, I could thank you again, Ran and Familia and everybody else, also Josefina, for sharing. But I would really like, this is my dream, that politics is much more normalized in Finland. I come from a country where like we talk politics every day. I feel like in Finland we often like avoid politics every day and talk about it just before the elections. And that's not a sustainable way to build power, to build minority participation. That's not a way to do politics at all. Like politics is what happens between the elections. And I feel like I've even heard like so many people when we go protest the current government that, oh, but this government has been voted, you can't protest them. That's not how politics is done. And I know how like we have gotten like quite ridiculous initiatives cancelled both in the local and in the national level by being on the streets, by talking, by sending emails. So I really hope that this kind of conversations around like which you have been organizing, like Bioma said, continue after the elections as well, so that everybody feels like it's okay to be political in Finland. We live in a very depoliticized society, which I hope will change, because if this continues, it's not going to be good for any of us. Thank you for having me.
Well,
thank you very much.
Yeah. I just want to thank you. I mean, I've gained a lot of insights for my own research from hearing Bioma and Arvind. So, so, you know, I've been in the end of receiving. I hope I also gave something, but this is a researcher talking, not a politician. So I mean, yeah, like go for politics, of course, but not in this sense that I'm not myself a politician, but I, of course, as a political scientist, understand how I mean, of course you cannot change things if you do not participate, and how it's important to know how power is used in Finland, and that everything is political. I mean, one cannot just say that I like sports, it shouldn't be mixed with politics or something. My opinion is that politics is everywhere. So kind of this depoliticization, or like politicization in the sense of things that are actually political. It's not worth saying that they aren't when they are. So there are different choices, and we have different opinions, and I also think that the more opinions can be not kept, but the better the decision making when more voices are heard from people with different opinions and political. So this plurality, I see it's very important for functioning democracy.
Thank you, Josefina. And I would just say for ending this session that I don't know if you know this from my smile, that I'm having the best time of my life in here. I love discussing politics. This is like my pleasure. And I can promise you, Arvin, that I will continue doing more things as time goes by. There's a lot of things on my that are developing at the moment from Familia, well, most of what I do is voluntary, of course, or not many of the things that I do are voluntary about this, and yeah, politics is a way of life, and we all should live it and do what we can do to influence our own life through it. So thank you very much, and I hope to be in. I will try to be in touch with all of you for all kind of reasons. I promise you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.